and welcome back to a new week of races here with Alpha Tauri. That will be the schedule going forward, week daily, allowing me to recharge on the weekends before ploughing into potentially another week worth of frustration and misery. Hopefully this next week is a lot better than the last in that respect, because we've got a better handle on things now. We know how to approach the situations. We know how some of the mechanics kind of play out now, so we can sort of play to our advantages and work around them if we're not feeling particularly strong there. Now, whilst there are 3 new car parts for this particular race, they're all done with the previous uneducated ethos of spreading the love around. So even though, like I say, there's 3 of them, all they've done is kind of keep us in the same ballpark in terms of overall ranking, and we've not really made too much of a headway on the averages because the averages themselves have moved with us. That brake calling one does seem to be higher than what I remember, but the new front wing will make the headway on that dirty air tolerance, probably bring us around average actually on the dirty air tolerance and get us a lot closer on brake cooling. I should mention, still side pods to come and underfloor. But that is it for news, really. I will see you straight for qualifying and then the sprint and then the race, because it is a sprint weekend, folks. There's a lot of laps of Austria because there's a short lap to begin with. I think we probably end up doing nigh on 100, all things considered. So strap in, folks. As singular practice sessions go, that went as smoothly as possible. We got driver confidence up to a reasonable level to give us a 70%-ish confidence on both, which got them mid-high medium. And as for the car setups, whilst they are technically untested for this, I'm pretty certain we're on 99 or 100 with the ones we've chosen here, following the feedback from the previous 2 setup answers we've been given. I've taken the brand new car parts on Albon's vehicle now because I really didn't want to do it for Silverstone more than anything, and it gives them a chance to fight in the sprint. The penalties then apply for the race, I believe. There's obviously another practice session following this that will give us... I've just realised I didn't do the 2-lap thing. It's completely dry. There's rain in the race, by the way. No cooldown lap. Just checking I didn't put the cooldown lap on either driver there. Wasn't certain. Why did that look like they both had negative morale? Has the game done me over there by changing their setup going into qualifying and giving them negative morale based on that? No. It looked like there was a big sad arrow there. Thumb, sorry, I should say. So marginal gains as things stand with their current confidence, but that will go up with doing 2 flying laps, of course, as we've seen. Actually even get their first flying lap in a completely clear track, such as everyone's reluctance to come out here, as if track evolution was a thing, which it isn't. I wish it was. We've been talking with the developers about it. There's a whole raft of feedback that's kind of being looked at by the developers, and I'm really hoping they take it on board, because there's a lot of little things that will add up to being a lot, really. Having a look at the tyre wear rates and respective performance, having a look at track evolution, grip levels, etc., and how they affect lap times. Obviously, this tyre issue would be great if it was negated. 105.3 for the first run. Interesting that they got purple sectors in 1 and 3 and Albon got the middle one, but only 50/100ths apart. Yuki faster, interestingly. And actually, they'll get their second fly run in here without too much bother. Now, the reason, obviously, why there's going to be a relatively large jump here at Austria is the fact that that start-finish line is about halfway up the straight. So having cold tyres and not really pushing anything going into that start-finish line is going to affect the automatic lap time of that first flying lap. Now, obviously, everything's up to temperature. They're going to have done a much better first sector. In fact, Yuki's done a better middle sector than he did the first time round, and goes purple, but Albon's now done the purple first sector, so they've done the opposite again. And we'll see how much this improves on a 105, almost 3. A 104.9 for Albon and a 104.85 for Sonoda. Wow. Under 105 for both. And we'll see what that's done for their confidence. It's got them into peak confidence, which is nice. Always lovely to see, really, isn't it? We'll just wait for a lot more times to filter in, but De Vries is 6/10 slower. Piastri's a lot slower. I mean, we've slightly been humbled by the fact that, you know, the Hasses are still already that fast. I mean, our main goal here is beating McLaren and Williams, as Perez in Austria, hilariously, does a lap worthy of 19th. If Perez gets knocked out in Q1, that would be hilarious. I can send probably both our lads out on around 1 minute 30 doing a 1-lap regular push. There is a car coming out of that pit lane, a Red Bull, that is not going to make the finish line. And I'm not actually fully certain Alex will, but if I go tyre push, we'll be all right. I may have left it a smidge too late there. Right, entering the last couple of corners, we'll deploy and push fuel. He will be fine. The tyres still aren't actually really up to temperature. Same with Yuki now. He actually got across the line in plenty of time in the end. Happening to get past this Ferrari immediately is going to be a problem because they're going to block us on the corner. Oh, kind of got away with it. We'll go in visor cam with Alex. I think we might be all right just because of the virtue of the cars that have already done laps. Bottas goes 16th. Perez goes 16th. Perez only goes 16th. Oh my God, Perez is out in Q1 at Austria. Art imitating life. Piastri's across the line only 19th. I think that's it. Bottas crossed the line with a lap to spare. I don't think we actually need to do this lap, but I am fascinated to see if they're going faster. They've done a personal best middle there. Albon across the line goes 5th. Sorry, I didn't even see where he jumped to. Flipping heck. Tsunoda, I think, maybe got caught on traffic in the middle there because he did not improve at all. Perez out, though, in Q1 is hilarious. Hulkenberg's got penalties, as does Perez, actually. It might be why he's slow. Although, why would he be slow and has penalties? With both drivers 5th? That's wild. Oh, it's only a 96% setup for Yuki. We'll take it, quite frankly. Just making sure they are set up for 2 laps. Should be set up for 2 laps. Because last time that didn't work. One of the previous times that didn't work anyway. We'll make sure they actually do 2 flying laps. Imagine if Albon starts 5th in the sprint. Yeah, so they are doing 2 flying laps. That's good. Obviously, there was hindrance for Albon there originally. A couple of people popping in pretty slow times there. I suspect they'll do faster ones at the end. Russell, Alonso, Ocon looking at you primarily there. And Hamilton now. I mean, we are sat 7th and 8th as we barrel towards the end of Q1 here. So we'll just watch our cars overtake literally everybody else on track that isn't already on a flying lap. This could be problematic for Albon because I think he's got a flying lap behind him that he's holding up. But ironically, if he doesn't let him past, it's actually beneficial for him. Don't push his fuel yet. Like, if he doesn't yield to this Red Bull, it's going to work out for him. May have left that a smidge late on Yuki, but we'll get there. Yuki hasn't got his tyres anywhere near as warm as Albon did. As we go around turn 3, in visor cam mode for Albon. Still 7th and 8th as the checkered flag is reached. A couple of people literally just crossing a line there. Was Hamilton in that group? He was. Hamilton is behind, guaranteed. Ocon is behind, guaranteed. I think Gasly or Russell slipped through there. Alonso on track. He is not pushing. I think we're through. He's pitted. Norris has stayed on track there, so he's not done his flyer, but Magnussen could ruin things a little bit. Albon goes 8th. Tsunoda yet to cross the line. That's a push lap from Magnussen, right? Yeah, because he came out of the pits with us and we just obviously disappeared up the road because we did our thing. But so Magnussen can't ruin our party, but intrigued to know if he goes top 10. He does go top 10. Hamilton out. Alonso out. Perez out. Already, of course. Well, interesting. I'm going to do 2 manual laps in case people are confused here. I'm also using the second most used tyres because I kind of want to keep 1 semi-used as well. Because we're going to have to use another clean set here, aren't we? To be fair, doing this is mostly a PSA to let you know that the AI does try to screw you over a little bit. Absolutely pelting it is going to put us in much bigger danger of hitting this traffic, though, unfortunately. As long as we get past Russell before the hairpin, that'll be fine. Similarly with Tsunoda here. Great yield from Russell there. And we'll catch Verstappen by the end of the lap anyway. Perfect. 105.5, 105.7. I assume that to be. Okay, they are coming in. I suppose I'm not as used to doing that, am I? I hope they've got enough fuel to come back in there. Good. So we still have a set for the race and we still have a set for the sprint. Good lord. Actually, Albon's 3rd. And they were used tyres. 5th now, but taking control of your own destiny here with manual control qualifying seems to be relatively potent here in Austria. Such a short lap as well to get temperatures up on. That's probably part of it. As he pelts it past the Verstappen, it has to be because there's no Perez. Chasing the Ferrari that's similarly probably on a push lap there. I think unfortunately Tsunoda might be a little bit crippled here because he's followed a Mercedes across that line, and now I think he's got a flying lap Alpine directly in front of him. So he's going to basically do the same lap as that Alpine, which actually might work out in his favour really, because that's got to be Gasly, and he's already ahead of him. It just means he won't go any further forwards. Oh, and there's a Ferrari just to make things fun. Great work, Sainz, I assume. Hilariously, it was. Sainz and sitting on apexes. Name a better pairing. I suspect that's definitely not a faster middle sector. No, not a faster either sector for Albon, remarkably. But then again, he did do a stonking first lap. Neither driver actually improves on fresh tyres. Magnussen goes faster, Gasly doesn't. Tsunoda starts 9th. Actually, it wasn't Magnussen. I think it was... Was it Hulk going faster than both Albon and everyone else? I think it might have been Hulk going all the way through into 5th. Hulk has a penalty, but then so does Albon when it comes to the race. Minor shout out there for the Alfa Romeos not being the worst 2 qualifying times for what I think is the first time this, or second time this season. Normally, Zhou Guan Yu is 20th. Anyway, kind of forgot there was a second practice there, so see you for the sprint. It's kind of wild that you have to do 50 laps in practice too there, but, you know, that's 90% preparation for both drivers. Obviously, there's also an element of getting that car parts knowledge for us in particular as well, with new car parts on the car, and which gets them into a much nicer starting point for the race than they did qualifying, but then you can always bump that qualifying up. Now, I did use the mediums in that, so I am slightly concerned we don't have enough of these left. So softs, oh, just get to the end. I've done that wrong. The mediums are the ones you're actually going to have to use to get to the end of that. Although, yeah, the mediums are 1 second faster and you can push them. I've chosen the wrong ones. I'm only going to have one medium for the race and then 2 sets of softs, but oh well. I'm not confident about underfueling in a sprint. Oh, he actually starts the 20th for the sprint. Interesting. The fact that Yuki starting 7th implies Hulkenberg's penalty was relatively significant as well. I was expecting that to apply to the race, not the sprint. Lovely crash. In a weird way, that crash was kind of helpful because I forgot to do the driving options.
Lights out, and away
I can see
we
Yuki
go.
Tsunoda. Wait, Albon started 6th. I'm so confused. Hulkenberg's 5th. Maybe it does apply to the race then. So I was just thinking there as well. We did 8 flying laps across all 3 qualifying sessions. We're doing 24 laps of a sprint, and I think it's 72 for the race. So that's well over 100, as that corner is still carnage. But Albon appears to be up to 5th, as Yuki also appears to be down to 10, because Hamilton dive bombed about 4 people in one go there. Also, he just decided to drive straight on. And because of the time it took him to get back to the track, it didn't really matter that he was probably going to have to wait for people. Yes, so by the time he's got himself into position to rejoin, it was the last car going past anyway. Oh well, this is more just annoying for his starting position for the race than it is anything else. Wrong car. He was already down to 10th when that happened, so a little bit swings and roundabouts, and he's lost a lot of tyre wear, which is a bit annoying because that means he's absolutely going to have to come off push now. As I'm also going to have to go into their strategies and make it clear that they're not doing that. But Albon holding on in 5th. Stroll is losing Verstappen and the other front 2 a little bit. Then again, Verstappen's losing the Ferraris. Curious. Tsunoda's actually burning those tyres a little bit much there. Albon's pace versus the others just evaporated towards the end of that. Suddenly he was just 2 seconds behind Stroll, and I don't know why. But now he's got 3 DRS sections to stay 6th. And Yuki's got his tyres into a warm enough area. He should still make the end of this race on them. Everyone did start medium dry, by the way. Yeah, I think 0.6 is enough there. We're going to use a little bit of aggressive now and then to keep Alex in the fight with Hulkenberg, who similarly can't hold on to Stroll. Yeah, we seem to have trouble between the end of DRS3 and the start of... well, I suppose it's DRS2 and DRS3, but you know what I mean. The top of the hill and the bottom of the hill. Tsunoda's back up 1 place. Good. Problem is I just can't push the tyres. He's actually taken Hulkenberg there for kind of 0 reason. I hope he only gets overtaken by Hulkenberg here rather than both Hulk and Hamilton. Nicely done, Alex. Close Hamilton off there. Alonso's up to 8th. That's depressing. Here he comes then. There's still 17 laps to go, but still got very high confidence as Alex here. He's gone for Hulkenberg again, without even pushing that time. We'll get Yuki past Piastri. Unfortunately, taking my eyes off Alex to focus on getting Tsunoda through Piastri, both Hamilton and Alonso happened, which is a bit of a shame. Perez is on his way as well. It's depressing how overriding the vehicle performance is. Like, it's not just us, it's, you know, the Haas has lost out to both of them as well already. And they started 11th and 13th. And we started 5th and 6th. And they're already 5th and 6th. Perez started 16th. Weird thing is, Perez started 16th and he's only 12th, so I think he's got other problems. Like, he's making ground, but not as alarmingly as the 2 drivers who didn't have penalties, of course, as well. Which implies there's a little bit of mechanical problem with perhaps Perez. And the fact he just qualified 16th in general. As we enter Nico Hulkenberg there. Kind of want to get those tyres up a little bit now. Nice little bit of a confidence boosting there. To boot. How are we doing tyre-wise? Kind of actually doing better than most of them. Looks like some of them have pushed their tyres a little harder than we have. Successful defend from Alexander Albon there as well. But Perez has got Gasly. He's at the back of this train of 4. I very much doubt Alex is getting points here, which is sad, considering he started 6th. But I'll take him off push there. Tsunoda's up to 17th. He's actually done a reasonable, considering he's done a reasonable recovery. And he's just about leaving Bottas behind now in the hunt for Sargent, who's probably the only other person he's capable of getting within the remaining 13 laps, provided, you know, he doesn't mess up again. There's been a yellow flag incident, and it's actually Piastri behind, so that's utterly pointless to everyone involved. Oh, I say he left Bottas behind. He hasn't, but never mind. I suppose his confidence might be a bit... it's medium. So Russell's got Hulkenberg, and now Russell's got Albon. Damn. And Perez is now directly behind Hulkenberg as well. That's a shame. Still 10 laps to go, mind. Is he staying in? Oh, God, he isn't. It'd be great if you get into Russell's DRS. Sort of out of nowhere. Just stay in it. Oh, Alex, just stay in it. Well, he got it twice and just holds on for the 3rd one, I think. Perez gets Hulkenberg behind, and there goes our hopes of points, essentially, because it's now Perez, the one behind. But, you know, Alex is actually hounding Russell now. He's probably shot his tyres a tiny bit more, not a huge amount more. How many laps we got left? Enough. There goes the hopes of points in the sprint, unfortunately, for Albon, and he'll go to the back anyway in the race. Yeah, there's Perez. Bye, Sergio. Bottas, I think it is, has a problem. Tsunoda can't keep up with Sargent, although he's closed a reasonable amount there. Norris got De Vries as well. He might actually get De Vries by the end of this, but I think we're a little bit done for now. We'll be fighting with Hulkenberg for the remainder of this, provided he stays ahead of Ocon as well, which he does. Yeah, it's kind of pride now. The order reverted to status quo, unfortunately. But keeping the Alpines and the Haas behind is going to be an achievement and a sign of progress. There's not really much to intervene with here. Let's turn the wick up a little bit just to make sure we don't lose entirely. Ocon there. Wait, Ocon got Russell. Verstappen has an issue in turn 3, but that was that. Ocon and Russell are fighting, which is giving us a little bit of a chance. Now, we've got to be wary of Hulkenberg behind now and staying in the top 10. But if we can just sneak inside that 1 second, which we have just about done there for the detection point, and we can probably just burn the tyres for these last couple of laps. It's a shame Tsunoda never caught De Vries or Sargent. Oh, actually, I've just noticed. Fuel. I think if we finish ahead of Hulkenberg, we'll start ahead of Hulkenberg. Okay, we sort of left Hulkenberg a little bit behind there, so I'm just tempted to stick that on conserve just to make sure we stay in the positive. Attacking the tyre should counterbalance that. There we are. Just want to make sure we actually made the end of that race. Fuel recovery wasn't quite that positive. Ocon gets a point, but that's not really a problem for us. Still finished 10th. It's not awful. I genuinely do not know what happened with Logan Sargent there and how he ended up going up 6 places. But Perez, Albon and Hulkenberg, all with penalties, of course. So Alex will definitely be behind Yuki, as that's Yuki up to 16th. We're going to have to rely on a little bit of strategy here. As sad as it was for Albon to lose 4 places due to the people just emerging from behind, Alonso, Hamilton, Perez and Ocon, for some reason, deciding to all just be unbelievable. He was unbelievable in the first sprint as well, so something about sprints and Ocon just seems to mix. But you can see there, Esteban Ocon's fastest lap was a 1:06.38. Perez's was the same, as was Hamilton's. All right, now for the race, which is rain affected. And the rain is in the middle, which is always a fun one. Dry to wet to dry. That looks like light rain with a smidge of moderate, so I think that's going to be intermediates. Oh yeah, that's totally intermediates. I don't need a vertical axis to know that's not hitting wet. Now, the concern is, though, what I do need a vertical axis for is knowing what this is. I am going to guess the intermediate trigger is going to be around lap 26, 27. So then we'll be back on a dry tyre, probably around lap 46. So 26 to 46. We'll set that in as the estimate, and then we can play around with what tyres work on either side of that. Because I don't have 2 mediums available, annoyingly. So we either try soft and hope for the best. Oh no, I think I pulled that too early. That's 28, isn't it? Certainly not beforehand. Honestly, I think the medium only just gets there. I think we might need to do that to be certain. So 120.55, which obviously is not going to compare to any of this because it's got a intermediate at the end of it all. But so he starts 14th. So I think all 3 people with penalties are back of the grid. We'll set it up for the same laps. So I think it's around 46 is probably going to be the return to a dry, and around 28. The issue is if that rain is actually a little bit slower in arriving, and then we're sort of stuck on a medium that's going off, whereas it's a little bit less risky on the other end. Plus, we can sort of really slam that hard in a couple of places if necessary. With rain, that's 1 lap standard, really. I'm almost tempted to do 3 laps under. I'm almost tempted. I'm going to do 2. Because I think rain's going to get us 1 back, and I think an incident will get us another 1. For certain.
It's the race we've all been waiting for. It's the Austrian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
So the commentary just said Piastri was back row, and he is 19th, which means Perez's penalty only just put him behind Tsunoda, and he's immediately 13th. Hulkenberg was put down to 17th with his penalty. Albon was entirely to the back. So I'm kind of almost glad that Perez has got through Tsunoda instantly. De Vries is the one that's done the dive bomb there and got up to 11th, so that's going to make things fun going forward. Paying attention to Albon here. I mean, we are on hards. I doubt anyone else is... Oh, scratch that. Shout out to Tsunoda, Zhou and De Vries absolutely bottling their strategies. De Vries might make it, but Perez and Zhou are definitely going to pit before the rain. I'm surprised De Vries didn't do the fastest first sector considering what just happened there. Right, so Albon's left Piastri behind. Tsunoda's left Zhou behind, actually. I think at some point we'll have to come off fuel. I think we'll have to come off the tyres, actually. Actually, I need to find out what the I say he's left him behind. I think he's immediately just got back in range there because of the way that corner kind of goes a little wonky. I'm going to guess this is 115. I'll come back. Bottas just took Hulkenberg, which is confusing. And Zhou's pressuring Tsunoda now. But both drivers will have DRS on the next straight to help tow them along. 115 was indeed the level in which they get hot. Albon's done an overtake there on hot tyres, remarkably. So despite just taking Hulkenberg in an overtake, Bottas is immediately behind him and being dropped by him. So Hulkenberg took that one personally, it seems. So their tyres are now back under the relevant temperature. Tsunoda's kept Zhou behind. Albon now has to chase Hulkenberg, who hopefully will just get held up more than anything. The good news is everyone's on hard tyres. Although Albon won't be able to chase Bottas if he's constantly being overtaken by him. Not going to do great for his confidence, but actually starting further back is, over the course of the race, going to help. He is pressuring Norris, Tsunoda. But the good news is we can do sort of cycles of pushing on these tyres. Now Albon's re-overtaken Bottas. I'll bring that back up again. Let's try to get Tsunoda through Norris and Sargent, which I know he is faster than. Fortunately, he's on the outside of Norris here, which is not going to work out in the long run. No, it might do, actually, because he had the outside lane, which is typically is the grippier of the two. There we are. Albon cannot leave Bottas behind. Come on, mate. You're better than this. Sargent and Tsunoda are fighting. Albon's on the back of Zhou Guanyu on lap 10. Tsunoda hunting Sargent, who's not too far off De Vries, actually. If we pull off an overtake on Sargent, then we might get in De Vries' DRS. I might do a combined aggressive top-up on both drivers here, so they kind of cancel out their own problems. De Vries has just backed into Sargent by lap 13 anyway, so... And Hulkenberg's joined the party from behind. There's a very real chance we can be at 12th before the rain comes with Tsunoda, as Albon's taken Norris further back. That McLaren is really a dog of a car at the moment.
Can they squeeze by?
Yes, they can, Crofty. It's a track in which you can go 3 wide at least. Sargent's taken De Vries, and maybe De Vries is a bit more of a sitting duck for Tsunoda than Sargent was. And Hulkenberg's trying to take Tsunoda at the same time. It's 3 people trying to overtake the person in front simultaneously is never going to really end well. And it does make me a tad concerned for Tsunoda's well-being here. Norris and Albon are interchanging, it seems. We'll have a quick check-in on the weather and see if that's changed at all. Seems to be a bit similar. If anything, a little bit more of a smoother of a slight incline there. Zhou on a softer course is already pitted now. I wonder if actually 2 softs would have got to the rain better, thinking about it. We'll find out if Zhou actually does better on that strategy or not than a hard that you can just go a little bit more aggressive with on occasion. Come on, Yuki, you've got this. There you go. As he enters Sargent as well at the end of that. There's a few clipping issues at Austria, I've noticed there. But Yuki barging his way really past Nick De Vries there. By the way, I love the fact that they went from driver number 21, I think, which was Nick De Vries, to 23, which is Albon. So we went from having drivers number 21 and 22 to 22 and 23. Kept it consecutive, but a different consecutive. And he now gets Sargent in the same manner. Will we watch that one as well? That's Albon, actually. I've been bamboozled. Excellent. And Tsunoda is capable of immediately dropping Sargent, which is excellent. Even just on regular push there. I'm going to stick him on aggressive a little bit just to pull out a smidgen more of a gap there. 4 minutes until some form of rain. If anything, that feels like it's coming a little earlier. I mean, I think the 1 millimeter might actually be around 30. It might be a while till we actually hit 1 millimeter. Norris and Albon continue to fight, which is a shame. Someone's gone wide. I don't know who that was. Hulkenberg's joined Tsunoda, sadly. Perez can't make any headway into that top 6. I think he has a bit of an issue. Not enough to hold him back too much, but I think Tsunoda and Hulkenberg will swap over a few times. This is interesting because it's such a slow increase. It is going to be intermediate weather. I'm surprised Albon's not actually made better progress. How are other people doing on their hards out of curiosity? Max is on 58, and most of them are still in their 60s, but so we're not massively under. Perez has actually kept his softs going quite well there. And Zhou did go soft, but he's got nowhere near the back of Piastri. And actually, now I've sort of criticised Perez for not getting through and cracking that top 7. He is now 5th. But I think we'll be hitting the checkpoint regardless now. I think if Tsunoda and Hulkenberg just continue fighting for a little bit, we might be all right there. De Vries, ooh, Alex Albon's nearly in that fight. Use a little bit of a deploy there. Alex, get in that fight. Make that interesting. Not going to watch every Hulkenberg-Tsunoda overtake. We'll be here all day. Still a long way off. In fact, I think the boundaries moved a little bit. We're probably looking more lap 30 now. That's irritating. Tried to top up Alex's DRS a little bit and then ended up getting taken by Norris. Oh well. I mean, it's such a slow increase. I'm not even certain if it's even going to get... It's going to get wet enough, but only for a few laps. And I'm starting to worry that we've actually burnt the tyres a little bit too hard. And we're never actually going to get to intermediate weather. Perez is pitted, but he was on softs to begin with that were barely holding on anyway. Oh, he actually comes out in Tsunoda's fight, which is quite funny. Hello. Hello, Sergio. He's come out on intermediate, so this will actually tell us some information. I mean, overtaking the Red Bull's a highlight, even though it's intermediate. So he's been basically forced on those intermediates a little too early, I think. I'm just going to pause whilst I talk this through a little bit. If the intermediate's tolerance for being outside of its operating window is similar to the wet's tolerance being outside, because in Monaco, kind of observed that the wet still functioned to a competitive level, or down to at least 3 millimeters, which is about 25% under. You know, it's 4 millimeters the cutoff for wets, and it went down a full millimeter into the intermediates before they kind of lost performance off the Mercs that were still running. So I'm thinking that maybe above 0.75, if it's the same kind of principle for the intermediates, 25%, might be the point, because Sergio Perez is clearly having a problem right now, and no one else has reacted yet. And Perez is helping hold up Hulkenberg as well. DRS is still active as well, I think. Sargent and De Vries have come in. I think they've come in too early. I think this lap is the lap to do it. And I'm kind of vindicated because basically everyone else has done it now. Stroll and Hamilton are in. And Sergio has caught up, actually. I know I say that. He was 1.6 behind, apparently. There's been an incident, as someone I think on a dry tyre's gone off. We've literally just come in as that yellow flag's come out. I don't know. We've not gained anything there. Who's gone off? It was Zhou, I knew who went off. On softs. So Tsunoda's in first. We are double stacking, but they were kind of 4 or 5 seconds apart, so we won't get really any hold up, I don't think, provided Tsunoda's in and out on time. 2.4 for Tsunoda. Excellent work. Alex in now, immediately afterwards. 2.5. Not superb. 9th fastest pit stop. Not everyone's done theirs. And we can actually really slam these intermediates because it's not going to stay wet for long. Yeah, so Albon didn't lose anything because he's still in that same spot he was before. And Tsunoda's not lost anything. We're kind of looking at Magnussen. We're looking at Russell. Alonso was too far ahead to begin with. Ocon, I think, was in that same ballpark. I don't know how far ahead they were of this fight with Hulkenberg to begin with, but Tsunoda was 11th before this happened. Perez was already obviously a lot higher. And the fact they're struggling to get the temperatures up makes me think that it is now definitely intermediate territory, because if it's too low, the tyres just burn up instantly. I think Albon just had to negotiate a weird lapping-unlapping problem with a Ferrari there. Meanwhile, Tsunoda is 2 seconds behind Hulkenberg. I don't know how that's happened. They pit the same lap. Sainz has had a pit stop issue. Irrelevant to our race. This Hulkenberg might be adaptable, actually, and we are technically outside of the intermediates range. We will get into intermediates range, but we are technically outside of it. So I think Hulkenberg might be one of the most adaptable drivers out there. Something weird just went on with the interval times because we just suddenly looked like we were massively out. Apparently, the top end of that is not where I thought it was. I just left them burning them. Albon found, and Albon is actually very adaptable, so he should be very good in these conditions, even as standard without pressing anything up, developing him on that front. So that's that working, overtaking his former teammate at Williams. Perez is just locked up on turn 3, which doesn't really put him into our clutches yet either. Albon's also got Norris. We're looking at the wrong person here. DRS is still active with intermediate tyres, which feels wrong. Excellent. So the threshold is 90 degrees, which they are well under at this point. I think it might be 75 to 90 is the window of operation for these tyres. So we can push the tyres again now, because they're well under that 90-degree threshold. And I do fear that Norris is quite adaptable in his own right. Is anyone still out on dries? Yeah, Gasly, Russell, Magnussen were all still out on dries. I don't know how that's going to affect their races. I reckon the lap times are relatively equivalent. I mean, Russell's going around on 30% hards, which, you know, I don't know if we pulled the trigger too early there. Because Gasly's still 10, and Perez is 11th now. I mean, he did just have a moment, of course, but I think we went too early. Russell's coming out in 10th. Russell's come out with Hamilton. I don't know what they were like before, but Magnussen still going on hards. Bless him. I mean, he's just losing tyre performance in general. Is that Verstappen behind? It is. Great. Oh, excellent. Excellent letting by there, Alex. Gotta be said. We are also gaining fuel hand over fist now as well, which was the point. Yeah, so Sergio messed up there, but I think for everyone else, Magnussen did a one. Oh, it's not really representative, is it? How far ahead of Perez? Oh God, the points are like 20 seconds away. Unless we really get it right on the other side of this. Actually, the threshold isn't 90 degrees; it's 80 something. Damn, no more DRS, and Albon's behind. Excellent work. Norris has clearly just turned his car up because Albon's going backwards now. As has Sargent. What's happened? Hang on, what's going on with Albon? Why is he suddenly just so slow? Is DRS still activated? It shouldn't be. Yeah, DRS is off now. Sargent can't be a king of rain. I think they just decided to go fast. I mean, we need retirements from the top 10 to get points here. But we are in the prime position because we are the best out of... Wow, that just went off immediately. We are the best of McLaren Williams. I am surprised that Albon's not made better progress. Actually, can I not just, like, burn these tyres to oblivion? Because they're going to get... I don't need to worry about tyre wear. I mean, I know it's rainy conditions and that could just cause carnage in its own right, but the fact they're hot doesn't really matter. One thing that was discovered there, it doesn't matter if the tyres are hot. All that does is really just degrade them. Try and get Albon through these if we can. That Sargent dealt with. There's a Ferrari catching as well. Lovely. This is going to dry out quite rapidly when it gets to it. Tsunoda's already past the point, I think, so... Interesting. This is finished a lot later. We can actually go onto a soft. And I think by the time they get round, particularly with Tsunoda at this point, it will definitely be dry. Now, Albon's a little bit further back. That is not coming down fast enough to me to think that is going to be done. So I will pit Albon same lap as well. That 53, that dried up a lot later. Oh, it's no longer raining. Take that off. I was trying to burn him to get through the... I might need to conserve with Albon towards the end, but Tsunoda's fuel worked out nicely, even just with rain. There was no incident, and it is dry. Tsunoda will be the third person to react to this. Verstappen might be the first. Hulkenberg decided to not pit there. Perez got through Magnussen, unfortunately. So this is the deal breaker. 2.5, not the greatest pit stop, but front runners are pitting. The two Aston Martins come in unison, actually. So Hulkenberg may have made a huge mistake there. We could actually get the undercut on Hulkenberg alone there, because now everyone else is coming in one by one. De Vries and Bottas and everyone else that might have been lapped twice there, I think, may have also benefited. Alonso had a pit stop issue, not relevant to our race. But Hulkenberg is now in the pits. Plus, they're kind of double stacking them two, but I think there was 15 seconds between Magnussen and Hulkenberg. Other teams might have had slightly more issues on that front. Gasly, looking at him in particular, who's fallen to 10th. I think Albon might be the biggest winner out of that, because Hulkenberg still come out miles ahead of Tsunoda, unfortunately. But Albon might have got both Sargent and Norris here, and the person who lapped him. But hopefully he actually comes out behind the person who already lapped him, because that would just save him a little bit of bother. That seems to be the case. He's ahead of Norris, and the Ferrari who lapped him is ahead. The interval to Hulkenberg, we gained about a second, I think, on Hulkenberg through that, and obviously plenty of time on Norris. And our tyres are up to temperature now as well. We've got like a full lap at full temperature here. No retirements though. Takes Yuki off now. That's probably enough fuel push there. Without retirements, this isn't going to do anything, unfortunately. Tsunoda is losing time to Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg is kind of gaining now, I think. He's just decided to do a few push laps, I think. Science lock up. Just stop locking up and crash into each other, you cretins. I need 3 people to retire, though, in fairness. But we are flying in formation as the 7th best team right now in 13th, 14th. With a race this long, it has kind of defaulted to that a little bit. The worst team are the back. The second worst team are 16th, 17th, because Piastri is shocking in the game. But the better driver of those two is ahead. The 7th best team are 13th, 14th. The 6th best team are 11th and 12th. Perez, obviously with his issues and where he started, is 9th. 2 Ferraris, 2 Astons. Ocon, unbelievable, and the sprint has done things here as well. I think the Alpines might have improved. And I think Albon might even get his fuel back by the end of all this. But we'll conserve nonetheless, just to make sure he gets that back. He's got time on Norris. There's no... Oh, now someone crashes. Lap 70. I mean, we'll watch the incident, but the Alfa Tauri caught him. The Alfa Romeo caught him, sorry. And then actually caught him. I think Piastri's been punished. Actually, that is accurate on that one, because it is the car on the outside that gets penalised for pinching. No, it's the car on the inside that gets penalised normally. So yeah, that's wrong. Last lap. Tsunoda's ended up 13 seconds behind Hulkenberg. I don't know how. I think Hulkenberg's done a few more attack laps there. Like, we've obviously not told him to do anything weird. We've not put any detrimental instructions on him, and he's just suddenly ended up 13 seconds behind Hulkenberg. So, in fact, Albon's gained a ton of time. Tsunoda's just going slowly for some reason. Yeah, Tsunoda's just really slow. I'd just like to point out that Tsunoda has lapped Zhou Guanyu. That's how bad Alfa Romeo are. That the Alfa Tauri has lapped him. That was in the sprint, Yuki, but sure. Board might be alright with that one. I think Albon's broken. It didn't show Albon the last time. It's mentioned Albon in the post-race. Red Bull back on top. So yeah, I mean, Sergio obviously does a recovery drive to 8th. I think they still got a problem with our car because it wasn't up there. Obviously had another issue going on those intermediates way too early. But in terms of recovery though, Yuki up to 13th, considering the cars that were behind him that came through him. Not awful. Albon up to 14th, got himself back into, where we are as a car overall, really. Sad days for the Williamses and for Zhou Guanyu in particular. But Esteban Ocon are outdoing Lewis Hamilton. I think the Alpines might be on Mercedes' level now rather than the Haas's level, which is worrying for us involved. Because that's 9 points on top of them, takes them past Haas. We remain 8th because no one of them lot got points. And we didn't end up sneaking into the top 10 on that one. 2.3, the fastest, 10th fastest, and 2.4 was our best. 3.4, that's the most money we received from a race. And there's the one we've been waiting for. Oh, and Yuki's 81. Even better. His adaptability isn't that high. I thought it was higher. Then again, I would have thought his smoothness was in the 80s, but never mind. Oh, and there's our individual breakdown. Albon's overtaken's gone up. Yuki Tsunoda's accuracy's gone up 2 points, and his cornering's gone up 1. Lawson getting a few bonuses there. Medium confidence will take. Yeah, those 2 points has staved off that problem. Don't have no manufacturing capability. Couple of different names on that, particularly F3. But if I show you the comparison for that front wing, then you'll see why I'm excited by it. However, I can't actually produce them for 2 days, and Silverstone is in 4 days, so we won't actually see them for Silverstone, I don't think. Sadly, I'm not going to emergency building anything in this save because, well, everything costs a boatload. But Hungary and Belgium will have the front wing, and probably the other pieces that are in development right now too. They should be ready by then as well. But if you enjoyed this episode, do like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, thank you for joining me. Until then, ta-ra.